Picture this, an apocalyptic fire. We're talking about a roaring, unstoppable inferno designed to consume literally everything in its path. Trees, beasts, mystical creatures, all just turning to ash in a matter of moments. This is the legendary burning of the Khandava forest, which is this massive, world-shaking event recorded in ancient Vedic texts. But right in the middle of this absolute destruction, an impossible mystery emerges. Right in the heart of this blazing inferno, a nest of tiny, completely helpless birds somehow remains absolutely untouched by the flames. So today in this explainer, we're going to unpack exactly how and why this happened. We'll be decoding a mythic mystery that weaves together cosmic bureaucracy, shape-shifting ascetics, and the raw, unfiltered power of the gods.
Okay, let's dive into this. Because seriously, how do unfledged birds survive an inferno? It's the exact puzzle that has fascinated readers of these texts for centuries. We're talking about the Sarngakas. And now these aren't majestic eagles or some kind of mystical fireproof phoenixes. These are unfledged, highly vulnerable baby birds. I mean, they couldn't even fly away. They had absolutely no physical means of escape. And yet, when the fire god himself swept through their home, leaving nothing but total devastation in his wake, these tiny birds survived. To really understand how they pulled off this miraculous escape, we need to look at how this story was originally told.
The source text actually frames this whole event as a classic investigatory story. King Janamejaya is essentially acting as our lead detective here. He's listening to the sage Vaisampayana recount the destruction of the Khandava forest, and the king just stops him. He demands to know the specifics. He says, well, wait a minute, you told me why certain powerful demons and serpents escaped, but what about these Sarngaka birds? To him, their survival seems utterly wonderful and just completely illogical. Like, why weren't they destroyed in that dreadful conflagration? And to answer the king's question, the sage actually has to take us back in time, away from the fire, to look at the incredibly strange origin of these specific birds.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the absolutely bizarre trajectory of their origin. The father of these birds wasn't originally a bird at all. Actually, he was a great human rishi, a revered sage named Mandapala. And Mandapala was a man of incredibly rigid vows. He completely controlled every single one of his senses, devoted his entire human life to study, virtue, and extreme asceticism. Finally, he passes away, fully expecting the ultimate spiritual reward. But instead of eternal bliss, he gets hit with this massive celestial roadblock that literally forces him to shapeshift into a bird just to become a father. To understand why he took such drastic measures, we have to look at what happened the exact moment he reached the afterlife.
So, Mandapala arrives at the region of the Pitras, which is essentially the cosmic waiting room of heaven, and he hits the ultimate bureaucratic nightmare. Despite doing all the hard work, despite perfectly executing his ascetic vows for his whole life, he is denied the fruits of his acts. He is locked out of heaven. And Mandapala is furious. He demands answers from the celestials sitting around the king of the dead. He essentially says, look, I did everything right. I performed the acts. Why are these regions unattainable to me? The answer he gets reveals a fascinating, hard and fast rule about this ancient cosmic order.
The Celestials break it down for him. They explain that in their universe, men are born with 3 inescapable inborn debts: religious rites, rigorous studies, and progeny, meaning having children. Now, Mandapala had flawlessly paid off the first 2 through all his sacrifices and asceticism. But he entirely missed the 3rd checkbox on the list. He had no offspring. And in this ancient system, there are no exceptions. You simply cannot enter the highest regions of felicity if you've got an outstanding debt.
So the crucial point here is that having children wasn't just some lifestyle choice or a personal preference for Mandapala, it was a cosmic necessity. The Celestials point right to the Vedas, which declare the existence of a very specific hell known as Put. And the texts state very clearly that it is a son who rescues a father from this exact hell. Without children, Mandapala isn't just missing out on a VIP pass to heaven, he is mathematically destined for a terrible fate. He needs kids, and he needs them immediately to balance out his cosmic ledger.
Now, Mandapala is a practical, highly intelligent sage. He takes a step back and reflects on his massive problem. How can he obtain the absolutely largest number of offspring in the absolute shortest period of time? And his conclusion is as brilliant as it is, well, slightly absurd. He realizes that out of all the creatures in creation, birds are blessed with the greatest fecundity. If you need a lot of kids fast to pay off a cosmic debt, a human lifespan is way too slow. The fastest hack? You need to become a bird. And it works perfectly. He immediately produces exactly 4 sons. But remember who their father is. These aren't just your average baby birds. Because of Mandapala's immense spiritual power, these 4 sons are incredibly born as actual reciters of the Vedas. even while they're still encased inside their eggs. So check and mate. Mandapala has successfully achieved his goal.
But as you might guess, this cosmic insurance policy kicks off some serious ancient family drama. Mandapala promptly abandons his new family. Yep, he leaves Jarita in the Khandava forest with the unhatched eggs and just wanders off with a brand new romantic bird companion named Lapita. So Jarita is left completely alone. She's highly anxious but fiercely devoted to her infant rishis, guarding them as best she can following the pure instincts of her species. It's a tragic, completely unbalanced dynamic, like a soap opera, but Mandapala's carefree wandering is about to come to a screeching, terrifying halt.
Because everything changes in an instant. While he's wandering the forest with Lapita, Mandapala looks up and sees Agni, the fearsome god of fire, actively approaching the Khandava forest with the explicit, unstoppable intention to burn it to the ground. Suddenly, the reality of the situation just crashes down on him. His children, his entire cosmic legacy, literally his only ticket out of the hell called Put, are sitting completely helpless, unfledged, right in the fire god's path. Panic sets in. Mandapala realizes he has exactly one option left. He has to intercept the regent of the universe himself and initiate a campaign of desperate, high-stakes flattery.
Mandapala steps right in front of the approaching apocalypse, and he delivers this epic, booming prayer. He doesn't just ask for a favor, he elevates the fire god to the absolute highest tier of existence. "Thou art, O Agni, the mouth of all the worlds," he cries out. He bows to him, tapping into every single ounce of his spiritual energy. He's not doing this as a tiny bird, but as a brahmana of immeasurable power, throwing all his cosmic weight into this crucial, terrifying negotiation.
And this brilliantly illustrates exactly how strategic Mandapala's prayer really is. He equates Agni to the storm cloud charged with lightning and the carrier of sacrificial butter, the one ensuring the gods actually get their offerings. He tells him that without Agni, the entire universe would just be destroyed in a single day. He calls him both the consumer and the creator, equating him with all the other major deities like Surya, Soma, and Vayu. He basically flatters Agni by making him the literal source of all water, all life, and the foundation of the entire universe. It is an absolute masterclass in spiritual persuasion.
And the flattery works perfectly. Agni, who is immensely gratified by being praised by a rishi of such incredible energy, pauses the apocalypse for just a moment. The god looks down and asks, "What good can I do to thee?" This is it. This is the moment. Mandapala joins his palms together, staring down the ultimate destructive force in the universe, and makes his desperate, highly specific plea. Notice, he doesn't ask Agni to spare the forest. He doesn't ask him to spare the other animals. He simply says, "While thou burnest the forest of Khandava, spare my children." The carrier of clarified butter, the illustrious fire god himself, looks at this desperate father and simply replies with 3 world-altering words: "So be it." And with that divine promise, the mystery that King Janamejaya asked about at the very beginning is finally resolved. When Agni unleashed his full, terrifying fury upon the Khandava forest, turning great ancient trees and powerful beasts to ash, he remembered his bargain. He actively controlled his flames, refusing to let them blaze forth over that one specific nest. The tiny, vulnerable Sarngaka birds survived an unsurvivable inferno purely because of their father's immense spiritual leverage and his perfectly timed cosmic negotiation. Which leaves us with a truly fascinating question to ponder as we wrap up today's explainer. Think about it. Mandapala was incredibly selfish. I mean, he abandoned his vulnerable wife to run off with another companion. Yet he possessed such deep spiritual knowledge and ultimate devotion that he could command the respect of a god and save his legacy. So what does that mean? Does this story suggest that mastering the cosmic rules somehow outweighs personal moral flaws? Or is it simply a testament to the fact that in this ancient worldview, knowing exactly how to navigate the system, whether that's shape-shifting to pay off a debt or perfectly flattering a destructive god, is the only true way to survive? It's a complex, deeply provocative thought, and honestly, it's exactly why these ancient sources are so incredibly captivating for us to explore. Thank you so much for joining me, and keep questioning the mysteries.